It's December 7th, 2024, and Charlotte Austin is at home when she gets a phone call from an unknown number. Now, normally, she would never answer a random phone call. But today, for some reason, this phone call she decides to pick up. The voice on the other end is calm, professional, with a slight authoritative tone. The caller identifies himself as an officer from Thailand's Department of Special Investigation. He gives his name, his rank, and his department. And then he tells her something that makes her stomach drop to the floor. He says that her name has been connected to a massive money laundering investigation. And if she doesn't clear it up by the end of this phone call, they're going to issue a warrant for her arrest. Now, Charlotte Austin isn't some random person. She's a model and an actress, and she was the 5th runner-up in Miss Grand Thailand of 2022. She's got almost 2 million followers on Instagram alone. She's been in front of cameras almost her entire career. But this call made her feel like her entire life, her entire career, was about to collapse unless she did exactly what the officer told her to do. So Charlotte spent hours and hours on the phone, on video calls with these officers. By the time it was over, she was out about $118,000. Gone, transferred to accounts that she would never see again. But this isn't your typical scam story. What's different about this case is that the officer Charlotte was talking to on the video call wasn't real. His face was AI generated. She spent almost an entire day staring at a deepfake and didn't even know it. Let me set up with a little background of why this scam works so well, because the scammers didn't just pick a random crime to accuse her of. They picked the perfect one. Stark Corporation was one of the biggest corporate fraud scandals in Thai history. This was a wire and cable company that had been cooking the books for years. They were falsifying financial statements, inflating revenues, and funneling company money to executives and their associates. At its peak, the company was worth billions of dollars, and they were making moves to expand into Europe. But behind the glamorous facade, executives and board members were running a scheme to inflate the company's value while siphoning money out the back door. When everything started to collapse, executives started to flee the country. Investigators would finally arrest most of them in Dubai. Board members and the CFO, including his secretary, were all charged with forgery, fraud, and embezzlement. When everything collapsed, the damage was estimated to be around 100 billion Thai baht, which is nearly 3 billion US dollars. Shareholders and bondholders lost everything. For months, it was the front page news in all of Southeast Asia. So when these guys called Charlotte and said that her name was being connected to the Stark Corporation's money laundering investigation, it wasn't a made-up thing that she never heard of. It was a big scandal that everyone in Thailand knew about. So that's what made their hook so effective. They were piggybacking off of a real crime, a real investigation that was going on. The caller on the phone told Charlotte that she needed to clear her name, and in order to do that, she has to hop on a video call so that they could verify her identity. When she connected, she was looking at a man in a police uniform, surrounded by what looked like all these official documents and case files, and he was speaking with this bureaucratic authority that makes you believe you're dealing with the real thing. What she didn't know was that his face was being generated by AI software in real time, making him look like a real Thai police officer when actually he was just a man sitting in a scam compound somewhere in Cambodia. We'll talk about that later. The caller told her that they were tracking her location with GPS and that they would know if she tried to leave. They told her that the investigation was classified, and if she tried to tell anyone about it, that person would also be fined and arrested for obstruction of justice. The scammers told Charlotte that in order to prove her innocence, she needed to transfer the funds from her account to the authorities so that they could examine whether her money was connected to the Stark Corporation laundering scheme in any way. If she was innocent, they would return the money. But if she refused, they'd assume that she was guilty and then proceed with the arrest warrant. So Charlotte made the first transfer, and then she made another, and then a third, each time thinking that she was one step closer to clearing her name, each time sinking deeper and deeper into a trap that she couldn't see. Obviously, by the time everything was done, the money never came back. The verifications never happened, and she realized that the arrest warrant wasn't ever real. She was left with nothing but the slow, horrible realization that everything that she'd experienced was a lie. For decades, impersonation scams relied on phone calls where you couldn't see the person. And that invisibility layer was actually a kind of protection because your brain knew it couldn't verify what it was hearing. So it maintained some layer of skepticism. But when you're on a video call looking at someone's face, your brain makes completely different assumptions. As people, we're hardwired to trust faces. We use facial expressions to gauge trustworthiness and determine whether someone is lying or telling the truth. AI deepfakes weaponize your natural instinct against you. When Charlotte looked at the video call and saw a uniformed police officer with a serious expression, her brain was doing exactly what it was trained to do. She had no way to know that everything that she was seeing was AI generated. I mean, the technology is moving so fast. Deepfake fraud attempts increased 3,000% in 2023 alone. Research has shown that it takes as little as 3 seconds of your voice to create a clone accurate enough to fool your family members. There was a case in Hong Kong recently that shows exactly where this whole thing is headed. A finance worker at a major multinational engineering firm got on what he thought was a video call with his company's executives. On the video call, they discussed making wire transfers that needed to happen fast. So the finance worker authorized 15 transactions totaling $25 million. Every single person on that call was fake. The CFO, the other executives, all of them, deepfakes. The finance worker was sitting alone on a video call with nothing but AI-generated faces, and he had no idea. I mean, deepfakes have gotten so good, that the idea that you or I could simply just see through it because we're smart or we're careful is naive now. So let's go back to Charlotte and talk about what she did after she realized that she got scammed. To her credit, she didn't hide. She went public immediately. She held a press conference and reported everything to the police. The Thai police eventually arrested 4 suspects, and all of them received sentences ranging from 6 to 7 years each. So who are these scammers and where do they come from? The answer is a place called Phuket. It's a Cambodian city right on the border with Thailand, and it's become ground zero for one of the most disturbing criminal enterprises in the world. Thailand authorities confirmed that these scam operations run out of massive high-rise buildings, 18 stories, 25 stories tall. Entire floors dedicated to nothing but fraud. We've talked about these scam compounds and buildings and operations many times on this podcast. In Charlotte's case, the gang operated from the 13th floor of an 18-story building, where about 50 scammers worked under a Chinese syndicate boss known only as Chow Ma. All right, as we come to the end of this episode, I want to give you some takeaways because these threats aren't just targeting models and actors. These are things that everyday people should understand. Government agencies don't call you demanding immediate money transfers. They don't threaten you into compliance on a video call. They won't ask you to prove your innocence by wiring funds. If someone's claiming to be law enforcement and they ask for money over the phone, it's a scam, 100% a scam, every single time. Also, you got to verify through different channels. If anyone's calling you, claiming authority and demanding money or any sort of sensitive information, you should hang up the phone, find the real phone number, and then call back and ask them, hey, I was contacted. Is this true? Another thing that you should be skeptical of, besides voice calls, is video. Video is no longer proof of identity. If you're being asked to do something important over a video call, especially involving money, I would still say you got to verify through another means. AI video generation and deepfakes are just way too good for FaceTime to be some sort of verification process. And lastly, I'd say if someone's pressuring you to make an immediate decision right then and there on the phone, that's the moment that you should absolutely take the most time, pause, recollect yourself, and just process what's happening right there in the moment. Remember, threat actors, scammers, cybercriminals, they all use pressure and scare tactics and urgency to get you to do exactly what they want you to do. So you got to put some friction into that process. Pause, think through what's happening, hang up the phone, call back through official channels, and seek verification through a multitude of channels. Now, before we wrap, I want to talk about something that we built here at Don't Get Got. If you're running a company or managing a team and you're thinking about how to keep your people from becoming the next Charlotte Austin, we created a security awareness program that might be exactly what you're looking for. It's weekly stories delivered to your team about the threats targeting your industry. It's the best way to keep security top of mind because people learn from stories and they forget slideshows. It's 52 weekly stories a year that keep security top of mind for your entire organization. Flat annual pricing, whether it's 50 people on your team or 500. Check it out at don'tgetgot.co/training. All right, that's all I got for today. If you like this episode, give us a rating, drop us some stars, leave a review wherever you listen. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe to our channel. If you've ever been a victim of a cybercrime or scam, share your story in the comments or send us an email with the details. This is where you can get all the cybercrime trends, stories, and security news. Thanks for listening, and don't get got.